Have you ever worked on a project and you start to wonder whether it's even worth you continuing, whether you are actually achieving the business outcomes that you had originally set out to do so, and whether in fact it might be better for you to actually stop? Hi. Welcome to Safe in the Real World. I'm Ahmed Said, and today we're going to be talking about the business owner role in Safe and how he or she can help you to determine whether your Agile Release Train is actually achieving your business objectives or your business outcomes. So, the business owner role in a Scaled Agile Framework program is responsible for determining and making sure that the Agile Release Train actually achieves the overall business outcomes and goals. So how does he or she actually do that? Now let's just have a look at and work through the mechanics of that important role. Now the first thing that I'd want to say before we get stuck in is that this is a role and not necessarily a title. So an individual may pick up this role, but it is important to make sure that they understand exactly what's involved within that role, and they also understand that they may also have other duties that are outside of this role as well. So let's just have a look now. So the first thing that somebody who picks up the duties for the business owner role is they'll need to be involved in the overall vision. So they'd be involved in maybe understanding the overall business vision, understanding what the vision is for how that disseminates and how that crystallizes into the vision for the Agile Release Train as well. Once they've done that, they would have a look at an involvement in the roadmap, the overall roadmap for the business, for the Agile Release Train as well, and that may be beyond API as well. And then finally, they would be potentially involved in the strategic themes and development of the strategic themes. So what is a strategic theme? A strategic theme is basically a guidance that the overall business may give to all of the projects and programs that are running underneath the portfolio tier. And what the purpose of that is to help color and flavor the way in which the overall Agile Release Trains are working. So let me give you an example. If you're a gaming company, you may have a strategic theme that says that we're going to be working on virtual reality as a strategic theme now, so that could influence and change the way in which all of your games that are being released are created. Okay, so once we've had the involvement of the business owner in these three areas, that's how the business owner will have an impact and make sure that the Agile Release Train is meeting its business outcomes. So that's a very important thing. The business owner needs to make sure that through the creation and supporting of these three elements, that the Agile Release Train over time is actually achieving the business outcomes. Now, secondly, they will be involved with helping to make sure that the Agile Release Train is moving in the right direction. Because obviously, as you know, it's quite easy for us to take the eye off the prize, and we end up going in any direction. So this is where the business owner would actually help to make sure that the overall Agile Release Train is working in the right direction. Now, can you think of which role they would be working alongside to make that happen? Can you guess that? Have a think about that. Well, if you thought it was the product manager, then you would be right. They would be working with the product manager to make sure that the Agile Release Train is building the right thing and moving in the right direction. And then finally, they would also be supporting to make sure that the Agile Release Train has got a sufficient return on investment. So the features that you're building, you're obviously going to cost you money, and what is the overall investment of that? What is the overall return? What is the overall return of that investment that you have incurred as part of creation of that features? And so, can you guess which role they would be working on more to support that? If you've thought of the LPM role, there's the lean portfolio management, then you're right, because they'd be working more alongside that. Now, if you look at the big picture, you'll actually see the lean portfolio management roles sit at the portfolio tier, and they're responsible for funding, operations, and governance over there. Okay. So one of the questions I often get around business owners is, well, okay, that's fine, but what does a business owner actually do? Because it's not always that well articulated in the Scaled Agile Framework website. So here's my take on what a business owner would actually do in the real world. So I've split it up into 3 different areas. One is before PI planning, one is during PI planning, and the other is during the PI execution. So let's go through each of these different sections. So the first thing that the business owner would be looking at is to making sure that they've clarified the value of the features, and also the prioritization, supporting the prioritization of the features that are actually going into PI planning. Okay, so before we go into PI planning, if you remember, we've got can you remember the backlog? It's the program backlog, has the features in there. When the business owner would be helping to support first of all, they're valuable, and the second thing is to make sure that they are support the prioritization effort there. So now you've got a great feature backlog, it's valuable, it's been ordered in the right way. Now what happens during PI planning? Good question, glad you asked. Here we go. Right. So the first thing is that the business owner would want to make sure that the overall PI goals are in line with the overall business objectives. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is he or she wants to make sure that you've got some value assigned to that. Okay, to each of those objectives or goals that are coming out. So now that way we can make sure that we are in line for meeting our business outcomes and hopefully moving in the right direction as well. Okay, so that's good in terms of the planning stages, but how do we make sure that the Agile release train stays on track? Let's have a look at that during the PI execution. So if you look at the PI execution side of things, the business owner would be involved in the system demos, and there will be a key stakeholder in that to make sure that what's actually being built and what's being delivered is in line with the business outcomes in the right direction. And also they'll be looking at that PI and possibly previous PIs as well, to make sure that the return on investment from that current PI that they're working in and from previous PIs is actually bearing fruit. Because remember, sometimes return on investment can take a while to manifest and to measure and to collect, and it's not always straightforward to try and find out immediately what the return on investment for a particular feature actually is. Okay, so that was the business owner role in the program tier on the SAFe Big Picture. I hope you find that useful. I'm Ahmed Syed, and do subscribe to SAFe in the Real World, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thank you very much. Bye.